My boyfriend and I have been together for a year. For my first birthday together, we had been dating for 2 months, but still celebrated together, and it went pretty bad. As in, there was no food for me as a vegetarian, only meat, and I was brought to a birthday party of someone else and ended up cleaning up after a stranger's party on my actual birthday. No gift or plans for dinner. I got upset after having very little food for 2 to 3 days. There were potatoes, but those ran out fast. By the way, this was a place in his country and my mom's country, but I'm not familiar with it much, where I couldn't go find food or order. He definitely felt very bad and simply didn't remember I couldn't eat the meat. He took me to dinner. It's been a year, and now for my birthday, he wanted to make up for my last birthday. So for my birthday, he took note of everything I liked and celebrated 2 days. He booked a nice hotel room with a view. I wanted pink balloons and he got me those and spread them around the room. I loved flowers, and he took me to a stunning restaurant covered in flowers and got me a bouquet. He had some presents on the bed for me, champagne and a cake. So beautiful. Here's the thing. Everything had a slight bad after effect. I think he was stressed, but here are some examples. The bouquet of flowers. He was slightly annoyed/upset when I accidentally bent the wrapping paper in my lap a few minutes after receiving them. Then, after he recovered and said, "It's okay, it's your flowers, no worries." After the lunch on day 1, he had a place for dinner, but it closed, and then he was rushing and seemed a bit agitated with me not knowing what I wanted to eat. But all the restaurants on the delivery app were closing, and so even when I looked, it was closed, and I only had 5 minutes to select. Ended up ordering within time. He was very tired, as was I, in the night, and I said, "Let's just do the cake tomorrow," and he kept insisting on midnight. He set an alarm, and we took a bit of a nap. At the alarm, he started lighting the candles in front of me and finally sang. It was midnight, and I was so tired and asked to eat the cake the next day. Especially because we didn't have forks, knives, plates. Literally nothing to eat it with. He said okay. A little while later, I woke up to him eating some of the cake with his fingers. I was asking what he was doing. It was dark, and I didn't see it was a ton of cake he ate. Like a fistful. I was really annoyed, and he apologized a lot, saying he was so tired and just on autopilot and not thinking. He apologized a lot the next day when we finally ate the cake, and I saw how much he ate without me. The next day, he slept in, and we didn't have much time left for the hotel breakfast, and just again felt so rushed. So did my makeup in the car. I got my hair done, and he was so sweet to surprise me by paying. And then we rushed to the spa he planned. After they gave us tea and a little birthday gift for me, and he was rushing me through the tea. Then we went to lunch. A little late, so still rushing and a bit stressful. Very amazing restaurant, and it was a good time. His main gift for me was gold earrings, and he did a lot of research, which I really appreciated the effort for. He planned to take me on a tour of jewelry stores, and then let me select my favorite. After we left the stores, we were both so tired, and he started complaining for a long time about all the prices, and wanted to make sure I knew this is not going to be a recurring type of gift from him. I had a few pictures of the different ones I liked, and I asked if he could guess my favorite, and he responded with, "Oh great, more work." I also said, "I'm sending you the other pictures so he can just get to know me and my style." And he started saying, "You know what you're saying? X amount here and X dollar amount there," referring to the prices. I lied and said my favorite was the cheapest option, which was 50% under his budget. But he kept going on about the prices. We arrived back and I was opening my presents and kept saying what they were via strong hints, and I kept asking him not to tell me. He got me a security box that he said was for all of the jewelry he was going to buy me. The next day was calmer, but he did have a fun question for me. What do you bring to the relationship? He said he was asking more like a generally philosophical question, and that he was also apologizing at another point for how he was acting with money. Mixed bag. Anyway, I thanked him for everything. I really am appreciative. I know he tried so hard and was tired and stressed. But also, he kept on about the jewelry and asked what is something else that isn't jewelry he can get me in the future. He was supposed to go buy the final selection today, but I told him it's not necessary to buy the jewelry, and I'm very appreciative for all he did, and I don't need more. Now he seems sad. I don't want to receive the jewelry for my birthday. I just feel a bit bad after. I know he tried hard, and I'm very appreciative. Update. He came by to visit tonight, and we talked. Cake, he was basically sleep eating and didn't realize until it was too late. We also just figured out from comparing to past experiences that he has a problem with sugar, and it makes him act strange/hyper more than a normal person. We had also given up sugar for the month prior, and so maybe that's why he ate it. Complaining about the prices, he apologized a lot about this. He wanted me to understand that he wasn't complaining about me, but he was frustrated because he wanted to give me everything but couldn't afford to do that and was trying to stay in his budget. I'm not a materialistic person and don't need all of that, so we talked about it. He agreed it's not good to talk about costs, prices after doing something or gifting something for someone, and he's going to stop that with me. Asking me, what do I bring to the relationship? Yeah. I'm going to talk a second time to him about this, because I'm not so happy still. He did say that he was trying to ask more like, what do people in general bring to the relationship? Something like that. And that he was having a language barrier moment after discussing about culture. He then began to say he knows I bring so much to the relationship that is intangible and started listing them off. Anyways, I know it's all not the best, and for now, I'm going to keep my eyes open. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Considering his behavior, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy or appreciate anything he did, despite his efforts. He made your day about him. He acted like it was such a burden to treat you special for one day. He had a negative attitude, complained a lot, wouldn't let you enjoy opening your gifts, and essentially told you not to expect this treatment to continue or recur. It's a shame that you felt the need to choose the least expensive earrings instead of your favorites. And he disgustingly ate most of your birthday cake with his fingers before you even had a taste. His apologies came with excuses and not changed behavior, so you should absolutely have a conversation with him about everything. Comment 2. This dude is a bad one. Get as far away from him as you can. Let me tell you something. There are people in this world who are so selfish and self-centered that they cannot conceive of giving something without feeling slighted. They feel as if they've been taken advantage of just because they had to give attention/time, money to someone else. Those people will always find a way to make you pay for whatever they gave you. Your boyfriend asking what you bring to the relationship is one sign he's that kind of person. That alone should be a deal-breaking question to you. It is meant to make you feel as if you're not worth anything. Just leave, leave, leave. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a tense week since my birthday, and I've got quite the update for you all. So, after the whole birthday saga, things took a turn. Remember how my boyfriend was supposed to go buy the final selection of jewelry? Well, he did go, but not for the reason I thought. He came back with a small box, and my heart sank. I was worried he'd spent beyond his means despite our conversation. But when I opened it, it wasn't jewelry, it was a key. To what, you ask? A safety deposit box he'd rented for us. He said it was for our future, for anything valuable we'd accumulate together, not just jewelry. It was a sweet gesture, but it also felt like a lot of pressure. Now let's rewind a bit. My boyfriend has always been the type to go big or go home. For our 6-month anniversary, he surprised me with a weekend getaway, complete with a hot air balloon ride. It was breathtaking, but also a bit much. I'm more of a picnic in the park kind of girl, but he loves grand gestures, and I've always admired that about him. Back to the present, things got even more intense when he asked me to move in with him. It was out of the blue, and I was taken aback. We've been together for a year, sure, but this felt rushed. I told him I needed time to think about it, and he seemed to understand. Then came the misunderstanding. A few days ago, he was acting strange, like he was hiding something. I found a receipt for a necklace, the exact one I'd told him was my favorite. I confronted him, thinking he'd gone behind my back to buy it after our talk about not needing expensive gifts. But here's the twist. He hadn't bought it for me. He'd returned it. He'd purchased it before our conversation and decided to return it after, respecting my wishes. The relief I felt was immense, but it was also a moment of realization about how much he listens to me. We've had our confrontations too, like when I found out he'd been talking to his ex. My mind raced with betrayal, but it turned out she'd reached out to him for advice on a family issue they both had experience with. He showed me the messages, and it was all above board. Still, it was a shock to the system. The spa day he planned was another surprise. He'd booked couples massages, but when we got there, they had us in separate rooms. He'd misunderstood the booking, thinking we'd be together. It was a small hiccup, but it threw off the romantic vibe he was aiming for. And just when I thought things couldn't get more dramatic, his car broke down. We were supposed to go to a concert, one I'd been looking forward to for months. We ended up missing it, and he was so apologetic, but it was just one of those things that couldn't be helped. Through all of this, I've been reflecting on our relationship. We've had our ups and downs, but it's clear we both care deeply for each other. He's been trying to make up for past mistakes, and I see that. It's just a lot to process. Tonight, he's coming over to talk more about the moving in situation. I'm nervous, but hopeful. We've been through a lot, and I think we're getting to a place where we can really understand each other. Fiancé stays friends with all her exes, and I help one move, and we break up, but get back together, and then I find out she's been texting him all day, and they were engaged at one point. Oh boy, I request a paternity test. Let me start off by saying that I love and trust my fiancé. We have been together for 2.5 years and have had ups and downs like every relationship. One of the things that has caused some issues is that she is the type that remains friends with a lot of people that most people wouldn't, ex-partners. She has been wonderful in listening to issues I have with anything and resolving them on her end, and has gone to the ends of the earth to make sure I'm comfortable. 1 week before our 2-year anniversary, the mother of one of her ex-partners posted on Facebook about her husband, ex-partner's father, passing away. She was close to his mom and dad, and his mother asked her to come to the funeral. And I had zero issue with that. When she went to the funeral a few days later, she said she went back to his mom's house for food and hung out for a while. She offered to her ex-partner, the usual, if there is anything you need, and he actually accepted and said he needed help moving his mother the next day. I expressed that I found that to be weird, and she agreed, but I trust her, so she did help him. Maybe a week after that was our 2-year anniversary, and she broke up with me for unrelated issues. That night, she went to her grandma's house, which is just 2 blocks away from where she helped them move, and said that she was just walking around the town. Then I found out she had been texting her ex all day, every day, 300 plus text messages for that whole week. I also later found out that they were engaged at one point. We ended up resolving the issues that caused us to break up for a day or two, and we talked about the whole situation with the ex and how all that was in my head, and worked everything out and got back together. Not long after that, we found out that she was pregnant, and the time of conception lines up almost perfectly to the night we broke up, and she was walking around town near her ex's house that she had been texting for a week. That thought just boiled in my insides for 2 months, and finally, insecurities got the best of me, and I confronted her and told her I wanted a paternity test. I absolutely should have talked to her about it all when I first had those thoughts, to try to work on them and resolve them before a paternity test was even mentioned. But I can't change the past now. I've tried and tried to explain my reasoning to her, and sometimes she says she understands it, but other times she is ready to just leave me. I love her to death, and have tried explaining to her that I trust her, but that timing is too coincidental for my brain to not think those thoughts. I have seen way too many stories of happy couples where the man finds out their kid isn't his, and those stay floating around in my head. I've tried explaining that it is a fear that only men could have, since she obviously would never question if a kid was hers, so she could never fully understand it. I have some trust issues that I need to get resolved anyway, and have agreed to seek therapy for any issues I have, but I'm having trouble explaining things to her. How can I better explain how I'm feeling in this situation? Is there a way at all to save this? Now, For a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Is the engagement off if you get paternity results that say you're not the father? If you still plan to get married no matter the results, why push for the test? Are you going to marry her if she doesn't agree to get the test done? I couldn't marry someone if I had so much doubt, but only you can decide how you want to live. Comment 2. Stop telling her and us that you trust her when you clearly don't. Like your first sentence literally says that you trust her, and then the rest of your post saying why you don't. So which is it? If you don't trust her, grow a pair and be upfront about it. Now for the update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I've been on an emotional roller coaster. 2 weeks ago, I was grappling with trust issues and the fear that my fiancé might be carrying her ex's child. Now, the situation has escalated, and I'm here to share the latest developments. After my last update, things between my fiancé and me were tense. We tried to maintain normalcy, but the air was thick with unspoken words and doubts. I remember how she used to light up our apartment with her laughter, but now her smiles didn't quite reach her eyes. It was as if the shadows of our past mistakes were lurking in every corner, reminding us of the fragility of our relationship. The paternity test loomed over us like a dark cloud. My fiancé had agreed to it, albeit reluctantly, and we were waiting for the results. Those days were some of the longest of my life. I found myself recalling how we met at a mutual friend's party, how her eyes sparkled when she laughed, and how we danced without a care in the world. It was hard to reconcile those memories with our current predicament. Then, the day came when the results were in. My heart was pounding as I opened the envelope, and to my immense relief, the test confirmed that I was the father. I was overjoyed, but my happiness was short-lived. My fiancée was hurt that I had doubted her, and the trust we had built over 2.5 years seemed to crumble in an instant. We had a long, emotional conversation where she confessed that the constant questioning of her loyalty had taken its toll. She reminded me of the time she had supported me when I was laid off from my job, never once doubting my ability to bounce back. She had been my rock, and now, when she needed me the most, I had let my insecurities get the better of me. In a surprising turn of events, my fiancé's ex reached out to me. He had heard about the paternity test and wanted to clear the air. He admitted that he still had feelings for her, but respected that she was with me now. He also revealed that on the night we broke up, he had seen her walking around town, looking lost and alone. He had wanted to approach her, but decided against it, knowing it wasn't his place. This revelation hit me hard. I realized that my fiancé had been truthful all along, and I had let my fears cloud my judgment. I apologized to her, promising to work on my trust issues and to never let my insecurities damage our relationship again. We decided to attend couples therapy, and it's been a challenging but healing process. We've been unpacking our feelings and learning to communicate better. The therapist helped us understand that trust is not just about fidelity, but also about believing in each other's commitment to the relationship. As we worked on rebuilding our bond, my fiancé's pregnancy progressed. We started to prepare for the baby's arrival, painting the nursery and picking out names. It was during one of these moments, as we were assembling the crib, that my fiancé's phone buzzed with a message. It was from her ex, a simple, "How are you holding up?" text that shouldn't have meant much, but it did. She saw me looking at the message and immediately reassured me that it was nothing. But the damage was done. The old feelings of doubt crept back in, and I couldn't shake them off. I knew I had to trust her, but it was like a wound that had been reopened. Now, as I sit here typing this update, I'm filled with a mix of emotions. We're on the cusp of welcoming our child into the world, a symbol of our love and commitment. Yet, there's a bittersweet tinge to my joy. I've learned that trust is not just given, but also earned and maintained. It's a lesson that has come at a high emotional cost. Mill came to visit after I had my son, but she did nothing to help, and now my husband informed me that his family will be present for the birth of our second child. I'm so frustrated with him. My husband is from India. I'm from the US. We live in the US. His mom came in 2021 for 6 months after I had my son. I knew in advance, I was told, wrongly, that she'd be coming to help me recover and help with the baby. My son was exclusively breastfed, so she can't help with feedings. He rejected bottles. She changed 0 diapers in 6 months. 0. When I'd finally get to leave the house for 30 minutes to run an errand, rare, she'd call within 15 to 30 minutes because the son was crying and I needed to come home. She cooked curry for my husband every day, so cool. There's one thing I didn't have to do, LMFAO. I don't love curry, and while I do make it almost every day, I don't eat it. Especially when pregnant postpartum, it just doesn't sound good. Today, we were talking about how I'm keeping my own family in the dark a bit, not giving the exact due date, etc. They're very nosy and we're not close. There's a history there, but it's not relevant to why I'm posting. And he talked about how his family will be here when I give birth. I was like, sorry, what? He's already discussed it with them. It's apparently already a plan. They will be here when the baby is born. I'm only 13 weeks right now. How has this even been discussed already? I had asked him to wait until we were at a minimum 12 weeks to even tell them I was pregnant. We don't get an ultrasound here until week 12. I didn't want to have to explain if something happened. He told them at week 4 and 5. He didn't tell me he was going to tell them either. I only knew because I got texts about it. I'm so sick of coming last to everyone. To my own family, I've always been an afterthought and non-important, the scapegoat, etc. Now to my own husband, my feelings don't matter. They're not important because all that matters is his precious family. Not me, LMAO, and their feelings. I don't want to be vulnerable, post C-section, and come home to people in my house. I don't want anyone here. I want to bond and take care of my baby. He doesn't care. I've been crying about it all morning because I legitimately can't believe he just decided this was okay to decide. His family and I don't even speak the same language. When we go to India, I'm basically banished to the room we sleep in. I can sit in the front room and watch Telugu dramas, but I don't watch much TV at all, and I get chastised if I'm on my phone. I can't leave the house without it being a big ordeal because I'm white and they live in a rural area and everyone stares, bad eye they call it, and causes issues. I can't wear what I want to wear if they're here. I have to wear full-length, full-sleeve nightgowns, can't wear leggings or pants unless my butt is completely covered, like to my knees, have to wear specific jewelry every day, and have my hair pulled back. I literally never pull my hair back. I hate it. This seems super unreasonable to me, but my husband is acting like I'm the jerk and mistreating his family. What about me? What am I, the incubator? Am I not family? Why don't I matter? Please tell me if I'm overreacting. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Honey, you have to leave your husband. This situation is not sustainable and it will only get worse. You're right, you're an incubator to them, nothing more. Your feelings don't matter. Your husband clearly doesn't respect you whatsoever. He completely disregarded you by inviting his family without even asking you. Please stop procreating with this man and get a good divorce lawyer. Otherwise, your resentment will become unbearable. Please have some self-respect and get out. Comment 2. Oh honey, I'm Indian here. First of all, our tradition dictates that a woman has her baby at her maternal home. In-laws only get to meet the baby, that's all. She stays with her own family until she is well enough. Your husband is being a jerk by having his family over. Every time I read stories like yours, I want to warn women everywhere to stay away from Indian men. It's really sad how all of you sound. Now, for the update. Day 1. So it's been 3 days since I last posted about the whole situation with my husband's family planning to come over for the birth of our second child. I was at my wit's end, feeling like I didn't matter at all, but things have taken some unexpected turns. First off, let me give you a bit of history about my husband and me. We met during college, and it was like a fairy tale. He was the charming guy from India, and I was the girl from the US who fell for him hard. We had our cultural differences, sure, but we always managed to work through them, or so I thought. After my last post, I decided to have a serious talk with my husband. I told him about how I felt completely disregarded, how his mom's last visit was more of a burden than a help, and how I didn't want a repeat of that. I reminded him of the time when we first moved in together, and he promised that we'd always make decisions as a team. He listened, really listened, and I could see the realization dawning on him that he had broken that promise. Day 2. Yesterday was a roller coaster. My husband actually stood up to his family for the first time. He called them and explained that we needed space after the birth of our baby. He told them about my discomfort and the need for us to bond as a family. I was shocked. He had never gone against his family's wishes before. It was like he was finally seeing things from my perspective. But then his mom called me. She was upset, saying that I was taking her son away from her and that it was her right to be there for the birth of her grandchild. I was shaking as I tried to explain my side, but the language barrier made it difficult. I ended up just handing the phone back to my husband, feeling defeated. Day 3. Today, something amazing happened. My husband sat down with me and apologized. He said he finally understood how his actions had made me feel like I didn't matter. He promised to be more considerate and to put our little family first. It was a moment I never thought I'd see. Then the doorbell rang. It was a delivery with a beautiful bouquet of flowers and a note from my husband's mom. The note was in broken English, but the message was clear. She was sorry for not understanding my needs and promised to respect our wishes. I was floored. It was the first time she had ever acknowledged my feelings. My husband and I spent the rest of the day talking about our future, how we'd handle family visits, and how we'd make sure that both of our needs were met. It felt like we were finally on the same page. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.